Sean McDermott was coached by the legendary Jimmy Laycock. We asked Coach to say a few words about Sean earlier this week.
I realized early on that recruiting is a tough process, and being able to tell who gets a scholarship and who doesn't is hard. So basically, we wanted to bring in good, solid players, good individuals into our program, and give them an opportunity to earn a scholarship. And I feel like that gave sends a good message throughout the entire squad. I mean, we had a Hall of Fame of walk-ons, and obviously Sean was one of those. Well, I knew his father was a coach, and certainly we met them during the recruiting process and all when they came down, and all you had to do was spend some time with them, and you realize why Sean is who he is. I mean, that's one of the things that we really look for in the recruiting. Like I mentioned, bringing in good, solid people, but his parents did a great job in raising him, and it's very, very evident in the way he's turned out. The first thing I think of when you think of Sean is intensity. He was a very, very intense competitor when he played. Very smart, very confident, but extremely intense, and that really carried over to his teammates. And I'm sure a lot of them are here tonight, and they will attest to that he was probably the most intense player we had on their team, and did a great job as a player and in his leadership role. One of the memories I have with Sean was, knowing how much football in the William & Mary program meant to him was when I had him in my office, and I told him that he was going to be put on full scholarship. And the emotion that he showed to me at that time, he didn't come asking for it, he wasn't begging for it, he wasn't doing anything like that, but he was extremely appreciative and extremely emotional. And to me, that just said a lot about what William & Mary football meant to him. I didn't have any reservations about Sean going into coaching, and I knew that he would do well in coaching because he was a coach for us when he played, and obviously after he played. I mean, he was a coach on the field. So no, I certainly envisioned him going on and having a lot of success in coaching, and he certainly has. One of the highlights for me is since I stopped coaching was be able to go to Pittsburgh and attend the game when Pittsburgh and Buffalo played, and be on the field with Mike Tomlin and Sean before the game, and with the owners and all of that, and just the sense of pride that I felt just seeing these guys. I mean, it's Sunday night, NFL, the whole 9 yards. And the thing that got me is that they are the same guys, a little bit maybe wealthier and more famous now, but they're the same guys that were on campus here at William & Mary. I think that speaks a lot about them, and that speaks a lot about their upbringing and their parents too. But I was very, very proud in that moment. Sean, I'm sorry I couldn't be with you and your teammates tonight. I really wish I could have been there. But again, as I've told you many times, I am extremely proud of you. And I want to congratulate you again on being inducted into the William & Mary Athletic Hall of Fame. Go Bills, Sean. Take care.
Please welcome to the microphone the reigning Bobby Ross Virginia College Football Coach of the Year, Mike London.
Good evening, everyone. I hope everybody's having a good time. It's an honor to be here. Just want to say a quick few things to Sean and his family. I remember back in the mid-'90s, I was a coach when Sean was here, along with Mike Tomlin, a lot of you guys that are sitting here today. I'm very, very thankful and proud to be the head coach here, knowing that Coach Laycock gave me my first coaching opportunity. And there is a tremendous legacy here. And the goal is to make you guys proud of us that are in this room. Do it the right way, in the classroom, in the community, and on the field. So that's part of the legacy that you guys are also a part of. So just wanted to thank you, Sean, for everything you've done. The kind of guy that you are. My pops passed away a couple of days ago, and Sean texted me and said, thinking about you, praying for you. It doesn't happen like that when guys that go on to a high level that still come back and communicate with you and talk with you and be involved in the program. When he did the video for Termite, and yeah, Termite, that's what we call him. So, but he's not a termite. He's big. He's like 6 foot, whatever. And Sean was on his way. I believe it was to the Super Bowl or somewhere where he was in a limousine. I think it was, Sean. But anyway, and made the selfie video to Termite about the scholarship. I mean, it was awesome. It was awesome to take the time to do that. And hopefully he's a chance to do it again so we can talk about another PayFar recipient tomorrow. So again, this is a great room. A lot of football alum, a lot of guys that are doing well in their current professions. Some that we've lost along the way, but at the same time, as I said, one of the things my father always told me was get busy living. So let's get busy living and supporting the people while we're still above ground, supporting them, acknowledging them, affirming them, loving them, and all those things. So, Sean, family, we appreciate you guys, and go Tribe.
It is a great pleasure to introduce the presenter of our newest inductee, Brian Shallcross. Brian played football and was, in his own right, a very good football player as a first-team All-Yankee Conference place kicker, with at least one memorable kick, as his last second field goal at Zabel Stadium beat Villanova 18-15 on homecoming in 1995. Please welcome the current general manager of the Bowie Bay Sox, a 1998 graduate, Brian Shallcross.
This is a beautiful room. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, gathering today to celebrate Sean's induction into the William Mary Hall of Fame. It's so good to see the McDermott family here today. And Jamie, once again, thank you for sharing your family time with us. We appreciate that. McDermott kids, welcome to the greatest college that man has ever conceived. Welcome to William & Mary kids. I speak on behalf of so many friends, family, coaches, teammates, administrators when I say this. We're tired of hearing about the wrestler, Sean McDermott. Every national broadcast wants to talk about the national champion, Sean McDermott, wrestler. But this tribe, this room, this family, we want to talk about number 28. We want to talk about the All-American. We want to talk about the All-League player. We want to talk about our captain, Sean McDermott. So, now what they saw was the baddest, toughest dude on the field, making plays sideline to sideline, filling up the stat sheets. That's what they saw. But what they didn't see was an unmatched dedication to the weight room, to the film room, and to the practice field. And listen, do not talk to Sean McDermott on the practice field. The man is locked in. He is locked in. His intensity, as Coach mentioned, legendary. What they saw was Mike McGowan make an interception. against the University of Delaware in overtime to seal the game. What they didn't see in the huddle was Sean telling the linebackers, take a deeper drop, watch the crossers. Now, if only Sean had used that coaching acumen in a future endeavor. Now, what they saw was late night at the delis. You're laughing already. Late night at the delis before a 7 a.m. run the next morning. What they saw was all of our friends. What they did not see late night at the delis before a 7 a.m. run was Sean McDermott. See, what they saw was such a fraction of what makes Sean so worthy of this honor today. They did not see the total dedication to faith, to family, to teammates, to friends. They didn't see it, but we sure did. We sure did, and now the world has too. Now, we have fallen in and out of love with the Philadelphia Eagles. We have fallen in and out of love with the Carolina Panthers. And we love us some Buffalo Bills today. But this tribe, this room, this family will always love Sean McDermott. So on behalf of this tribe, this room, this family, I am so humbled, I am so honored, and I am so damn proud to tell you, Sean, welcome to the William Mary Hall of Fame.
I'll tell you what, that was impressive, man. Let's give Brian another round of applause, please. You know, it's special to be here, special to be around so many great people, and I think that's what makes William and Mary special is the people. In Buffalo, we get credited a lot with building a culture, changing a culture, and I think there's no secret to how we've done that. It's because the people, no different than what happens here on campus every year. And it's great to be back, great to have my family with me. Brian is my good buddy from not only being a roommate, but also being a teammate. He would tell me to toughen up right now. So, and a great friend. So, but I'd like to share something. You know, as we get started here tonight, as Brian mentioned, family. It's great to have family in the room, friends, talk about football. We could do this all night. You know, I look back and so many great memories. But I want to share something with you all tonight that a pastor friend of mine shared with me just a few days ago. I'm not really a poet, but it is a poem. And I wasn't on the dean's list, but it feels good to be back on college campus again, and so I'll get a little bit academic with you. It goes like this. F. Whedon would write, "Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some stay for a while and leave footprints on our hearts. And we are never, ever the same." You know, tonight's a chance for me to not only remember the long list of people that have helped me and influenced me along the way, but to thank God for the many who have left footprints on my heart. Thank you. You know, tonight's a truly special night. It's great to be back on campus. It's probably been close to 10 years since we've been back. My oldest two barely remember, if remember at all, that we came back in the spring, I think it was. They were young, but now they're old enough to get around campus, and it's important for us as a family, as Brian said, that they understand that this is the only school in America. So I'd like to start tonight, if I could, just by saying a few thank yous, and I'll move quickly. But I want to start with the most important person in my life, and that's God. I'm a man of faith. I'm not afraid to say it. I wouldn't be where I am without God and how He's blessed me and my family. To my parents, Rich and Avis, your incredible love and support from day one has been amazing. All right, Brian, I'm going to be tough again. All right. My brother Tim and his wife Sherry, my nephew TJ, my niece Tinsley, for all your support. William and Mary, the Hall of Fame committee, in particular Joe Montgomery, and your influence not only on campus but off campus. Coaches, Coach Laycock in particular, Coach Huseman, Russ Huseman, who's now the head coach at the University of Richmond. We won't talk much about that, but and Coach Sauer, one of our great strength coaches, who helped so many of us, were also influential in my career. The current William & Mary football staff, led by Coach London. Coach, we are so proud of you and your staff and the direction of the program. Congratulations on a great season. The athletic department, both past and present, Terry Driscoll, Brian Mann, Pete Clausen. Pete is an unsung hero this week in the work that he's put in. He now not only has my number in his cell phone, he has my brother's, my wife's, and my mom's. So welcome to the family, Pete. But continuing in the athletic department, if I could, Peggy Lucas and Hobie Blauser, two people that were very influential and really made a mark on me in my time here at William & Mary. And then also all my former friends, teammates, Kappa Sig brothers that are in the room, as well as non-Kappa Sig brothers. It's great to see everyone back and see so many familiar faces. It's just amazing. It really is amazing to see so many people come together, and what can happen when so many people come together for one cause. So thank you for coming back. And then finally, my wife, Jamie, and our three children, Maddie, Gavin, and Kelly. Thank you for your love and support and the sacrifices you make so I can do what I do. And I'm not sure if you guys know this, but my wife is an ex-Delaware Blue Hen. I said ex. We won't. When we got married, my dad, who couldn't be with us tonight, he's home, he's sick. But when we got married at the rehearsal dinner, my dad came out and made every single one of Jamie and her friends put on William & Mary Tribe t-shirts. But I don't know, Jamie, if you knew what you're getting yourself into years ago. But I'm thankful for you and your unselfish nature. I love you. I'm the head coach of an NFL team. What is that? There's only 32 of me in the world. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to have that job. So grateful to have the responsibility to lead a group of people towards a common goal. But it's ironic, it all started right here at William & Mary. And what I'd like to do tonight, just for a few minutes, is talk about my journey. It's been well documented on the screens, but also, more importantly, talk about the impact that this place had on my journey. And in doing so, maybe it becomes a recruiting pitch to my kids. We'll see. So I'll begin with the influence that Rich and Avis McDermott had on my career. I grew up in a household that was full of love, and sometimes tough love. There was a growth mindset and the importance of keeping one's priorities in order at all times. In fact, the list hung on our refrigerator door in Lansdale, Pennsylvania years ago. Those priorities were God, family, academics, athletics, and then and only then, a social life. My kids are probably laughing right now at me because that same list of priorities now hangs on our refrigerator in Buffalo. You guys better know it. But what was clear from my house at an early age was that there was a daily expectation about everything and anything we did. A daily standard of excellence. How you did the small things was how you did everything. Whether you were in school or on the athletic field, there was very clearly a standard. And years later, I've taken that same standard, that same idea of a day-to-day standard with me to the Buffalo Bills. And for some of you who may root for other teams, no offense, you'll get on board at some point. But there was a 17-year playoff drought in Buffalo. And that day-to-day standard, what we refer to as being playoff caliber, is what helped us in that first season end that playoff drought and make the playoffs. You know, my first football influence in my life was my dad. Excuse me. I'll always hold him in high regard as the best football coach that I know. I love going to my dad's practices. We walked through the stretching lines on the hot summer mornings. My dad's players making up nicknames for my brother and I. McDermotts, they'd call us, right? It's probably fitting because of the guy, Termite, right? But they call us the McDermotts. They were older. I could hear some of the conversations, but we were just young. We were walking through those stretching lines, but it felt good to feel like one of the guys. And I still remember those moments. But I also saw the challenges of being a coach, the long hours, the multiple jobs. And I think back then, when I think back to those days, those times, those years, I think that was my first vision for me of what could be my future self. You know, my brother Tim, he was always the lead dog. He was the one I was chasing and still am. He watched out for me. God, I'm weak, man. Jeez. He watched out for me as I learned from him. He was and still is my role model. Tim was a great student athlete, a great example for me. He would go on to play football at Cornell and is now the president of the Major League Soccer's Philadelphia Union. Major League Soccer League's Philadelphia Union. Everybody wants to be like their big brother, and I did too, and still do today. And as for my mom's influence, she was always there, reminding Tim and I that it wasn't all about athletics, it was about academics, and it was about being a well-rounded person. She wanted her boys to be well-rounded young men. She always encouraged us to try new things, But when it came to sports, you knew where she stood. Her boys better be tough. She would even make me think at times when I wrestled when I was young that I was the Incredible Hulk back in the day. Mom, you're amazing. I love you. All right, that guidance from my family that you just heard about was a major reason that I decided to leave my junior year of high school from public school and transferred to private school in a school called LaSalle College High School. That also played a big part in me foregoing a few wrestling scholarships to walk on and play football at William & Mary. I've always yearned for a challenge. I wasn't highly recruited. These are good highlights, but it's probably about the only highlights I really had. I wasn't highly recruited coming out of high school. My dad even sent all of my video, my game tape, using his connections to the college coaches in the world, and probably about to every school in 1A, sent a letter on behalf of his son, but the typical response he got was, your son's a walk-on. He can walk on at our school if he wants to. So my choices came down to William & Mary and West Point. I took a visit to West Point, was not allowed to sleep underneath the covers in the barracks the night of my recruiting visit due to the rigor and the protocols of a military institution and military academy. So I decided West Point wasn't the right thing for me. Even though I did live a pretty disciplined life in high school, I immediately took a trip to Williamsburg and William & Mary. And I remember after that trip, my dad and I are leaving campus and we're at the Crestar Bank on Richmond Road. It's probably not even there anymore. And my dad pulls over, there's a payphone. He gives me a quarter. I'm gonna call the wrestling coach at UVA and tell him I'm not wrestling. I'm going to William & Mary as a football player. William & Mary, what a place. Before I go any further, I just want to point out and highlight two programs, if I could, that were so impactful on me and my career, my time here at William & Mary and beyond. The first one is the Hay Farrell Scholarship Program, led by Steve McNamee when I was going through school here. So Steve, if you could stand up, please, give you a round of applause. The Hay Farrell program afforded me the financial opportunity to return to school my redshirt freshman year. I'm forever grateful, Steve, for your initiative and your effort. The football program's Welcome Back program. Coach, I don't know if we still have that or not, but my Lord, a program like that introduced me to many people in the community. And just the right time when training camp was getting old, the cafeteria food was getting old, and we would get a nice home-cooked meal out in the community. And it introduced me to Bob and Sylvia Hunt. Bob is no longer with us, and Sylvia couldn't make it tonight. But I'd like to thank her for 20-plus years of our special relationship and friendship. Can you give her a round of applause, please? You know, the connection that William & Mary has with their community is very similar to what we have in Buffalo with our Bills fans and our community. Many of you who are now a part of that fan club known as the Bills Mafia. Go Bills. Just want to give you a quick feel for really what type of player I was. When I stepped on campus freshman year, I'm looking out here at Terry Hammond's, and I'm out there and they're saying, hey, we're going to do one-on-ones. And I take one rep against Terry Hammond's, and not only did he beat me by probably 20 yards, but he made me know it just by verbally abusing me. after the play. So I just stood on the sideline for most of those remaining one-on-ones until I could kind of get up to speed. So Terry, it's great to see you. And you sat like 12 o'clock right in front of me. I appreciate that, man. Great reminder to me. Great reminder. No, so I don't know if many people in the room remember, I was, for some reason, given number 83. Now, I was not a wide receiver. I was a defensive back. So I'm not sure why I was given 83, other than they probably ran out of all the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and maybe the single digits before I got to campus, probably with all the scholarship guys. But they also gave me a nice pair of black cleats. I was never allowed to wear black cleats in high school, and a jockstrap, okay? I did wear a jockstrap in high school. But what was interesting about both was that both had the numbers of the two previous guys that wore them scratched out. And my 83 written over the top. That's the type of player I came in as. What a great segue to Coach Laycock and the coaching staff of William & Mary when I was here. You know, to be honest, 2 years probably went by, one as a walk-on, as a redshirt, and the other one just as a redshirt freshman. It's probably 2 years that I didn't know if Coach really knew my name. And why would he? He was a head coach. He had a lot going on. He was also an offensive guy, and I played defense. But soon enough, my redshirt freshman year, we're right out here playing VMI, and I'm like, this is my big chance. We're up big on VMI, which we should have been, and I'm in the game. They're punting, so they're basically conceding the game. And I'm like, I'm going to block this punt, right? I'm going to block this punt. I'm going to get up in the end zone and high-five some of my fraternity brothers in the end zone. Great idea. Well, not only did I block the punt, but I roughed the punter at the same time. And Coach Laycock not only knew my name then, but he found some creative other names to call me after that. All I really cared about was being the best player I could become for my teammates and trying to earn myself a scholarship to help my family. When I look back years later at my coaching DNA, it really comes down to three people, and Coach Laycock is one of them. Andy Reid would be the other, and then my dad is the third. All of them had great influence on my career. The thing about Coach Laycock was the consistency, the discipline, the structure he had around our program was very similar to what I would later experience at the NFL level. No surprise he was as successful as he was. I'm sure we all remember, I know I do, I vividly recall Coach's code to conduct handbook that he would give us at the start of every training camp. I probably got to page 2 before I stopped reading, but there's a couple other guys, mainly in this corner, that probably should have read a couple more pages in there. Then there was also the night we would have to commit to tribe football. It was a unique night, end of training camp, and we'd go one by one across the room, and you could hear a pin drop in that room, one by one. And nobody ever wanted to be the first one to have to stand up, push their chair out, put their hand on the Bible, and say, I commit to tribe football for the 1996 season. It was somewhat unique, and we would laugh it off a little bit. But by the end of the night, it was clear that we were committing to something bigger than just that season. We were committing to one another. And I've taken that same thing, that same idea, that same shared accountability and shared commitment with me to the Buffalo Bills. Every year we start a new season, we may not stand up and go one by one. I think I'd be kicked out of my butt by then by the players, but we do commit and it governs everything we do. The love, that accountability, that commitment is what we commit to, and it serves us well. Johnny Rock, also known as John Sauer. I talked to Johnny Rock this past couple of days. So many stories of John Sauer, our strength coach. Man, did he help me. And you know as a walk-on, the young man that was up here earlier, you know as a walk-on when people believe in you and when they don't. You can tell by how they treat you. And Coach Sauer, he believed in me. And I could see it, not only from the physical investment of time, but also the way he helped me mentally navigate the challenges of being a collegiate athlete. Because there are highs and there are lows. And he was there the whole time. And then there was my position coach, Russ Huseman. And Russ was not only my position coach, he would later become the defensive coordinator. And we had a heck of a defense. And now, as I mentioned, he's at Richmond. I can barely say it. There was a time before the UVA game, my redshirt freshman year, and Coach Huseman, he was known as a big yeller. He was either yelling at me or he was praising me. There wasn't much in between, but I appreciated his honesty and his truthfulness. You always knew where you stood. And our defense played with that same aggressive mentality. But it was the UVA game. They've got a loaded team, Tiki Barber, Rondé Barber, and a few others. At the time, I was alternating with an upperclassman to start at safety. The upperclassman had, I guess, an injury. And Coach Huseman comes to me minutes before the game. Hey, man, you're going to start this game. I'm like, baby, here goes my big chance, right? And and Coach Huseman, always a great motivator, always a great teacher. His motivational words that night were, hey, man, he tasked me on the show, hey, just do your best. And I'm like, I'm screwed here, man. It's always good to know your coach believes in you. But no, I took it upon myself. I said, you know what, man? I've always had this chip on my shoulder. I go out there, and I ended up about 3 hours later having about 20 tackles, a couple pass breakups, a fumble recovery. The next day, named player of the game. And I said, you know what? I've proven to not only myself, but some of the other people around here that I can play. And I saw that in this young man talking on the film, right? There's a moment in every man's life, every woman's life, every performer's life that you get that confidence. And that's what came from that performance that night against UVA. And I was never the same. I've always had that chip on my shoulder type of approach. That's something different inside of me that's driven me to be great, driven me to be the best. And I think that environment comes from my parents years ago in the house that we lived in. Always go for it, never ever back down. If you're going to do it, you might as well do it the right way. That same attitude is how I want our Bills teams to play with every Sunday. There's a group of people here tonight that I always knew were in my corner when I played. And I hope they always know that I was always in theirs, and still am to this day. The teammates, fraternity brothers, and friends that are in the room. I've mentioned you all by name. I just think it's probably easier. We can say we'll catch up at Paul's Deli maybe later tonight. But thank you for challenging me, not only on the athletic field, but also in the classroom, to become the best version of myself that I could become. It's amazing to this day to feel your support, your hand on my shoulder. You know, the NFL is not an easy business. It's fun, it looks good, but there's a lot of lonely moments, I can promise you, after games, in particular the ones that don't go well. But lo and behold, I pick up my phone, and there's text messages from many of you, and I so appreciate that. and so does my family. I think of the many great moments we had, the bus trips, the plane trips, the night before game meetings, the night before game movies. Pete Coyne's in the audience. Pete was reminding me that we would get these late night snacks, basically the meals to go to bed. Pete was my roommate one of the years, and Pete would go to bed like this. He'd be asleep, and he'd be snoring so loud. I would just take the Snickers bar from the meal and chuck it at him, trying to wake him up so that I could fall asleep faster and get some rest. So if I didn't play well, Coach Laycock, wherever you are, it was because Pete was snoring away. I think of the many great moments we had, the great wins. I think of Jeremy Anderson in particular. One Monday night on the turf field at Busch Stadium, Sean Knight is our quarterback, and Sean Knight was, the rule was hands off Sean Knight. You were not allowed to touch him. Not even give him a high five. He was the franchise, the face of the program. Well, we got the defense down one side and Sean Knight and the offense down the other, along with the defensive scout team of which Jeremy was a part that year. And word eventually travels down to the defensive side of the field that Jeremy had gotten thrown out of practice. Now, Monday night practices were not even in full pads. It was only helmets and shorts. So we all look, and they say, look at Anderson. He's up in the stands. Coach Laycock made him watch the rest of practice from the stands. And eventually word spread that Jeremy had sacked Sean Knight. And not only one time, but multiple times with the shield. And so, Jeremy, thanks for taking one for the team on that one, man. Yeah, that was the Q-Dog dance that Jeremy did. I wish I could share that story with my team in Buffalo, Jeremy, but I don't think they'd appreciate that as much. Our 96 team was incredible. The amount of talent we had on that team should have been in the semifinals, the national semifinals, going against Randy Moss. I think I was probably the worst athlete on that defense, in fact. I mean, it was talented all over the place. A couple guys here tonight even that would go on to play in the NFL from that defense, and that's a heck of a feat coming from a 1AA school. Ron Harrison, Jude Waddy, and a few others. Great to see you guys also. I also think back of being a freshman and the influence that Mike Tomlin had on me. Now my coaching counterpart in the NFL. Although I think our record is, well, I won't get into the record. But he's taught me a lot. He taught me a lot on campus that freshman year. Not only what he taught me on the field as a leader, as a captain of our team, but what he taught me off the field as a leader of the Fellowship of Christian Athletes and what he stood for. You know, coming from a school of this size and having two head coaches in the NFL, when Mike and I get a chance to see each other, sometimes it is business, but we do take an opportunity to joke around and reminisce a little bit about our time here in Williamsburg and on campus. And we are both of us so prideful when we lead our teams out on the field on Sunday afternoons, not only because of our teams, but because of the green and gold of William and Mary. One of my proudest moments on campus, however, was one of my latest moments on campus as a student. There was an award that they referred to as the Benjamin Stoddard Ewell Award, and it was for leadership. A leadership not only on campus, but in the community. And I was given that award my senior year. And it was at that moment that I realized that there was something bigger than football. There was something more important than just being an athlete, a good athlete. all the lessons that my mom and dad had taught me had risen to the surface. It was at that moment that I understood the importance, and not just the importance, but the influence you carry when you're a good person, and how important that is. Little did I know then that just a few years later I would be interviewing for a head coaching job in the NFL. And I swear to you that the owner would ask me, "Hey, Sean, what is leadership, what does it mean to you? And is it something that you're born with?" He wanted me to try and define leadership, and I think it's really hard to define. I really do. He'd say, "Are you born with it?" And I'd say, "I think that's partly true. I think some of it you're born with. But I think the rest of it comes over time through shared experiences on your journey." And I'm so thankful of William and Mary's impact on my journey as a leader. The collective influence of my family and William and Mary, and there's so many people that helped me here, from staff to players, teammates, friends. So unique. That collective influence was on display this year. Many of you saw our challenges this year in Buffalo. Every year there's challenges in the NFL. There's adversity. Coach knows it. As you start a season, you're never sure how big and what form it's going to come in terms of the adversity you're going to face as a team and what it's going to do to your team. There's a gap. This year, I can promise you the gap that we faced was unique. From major snowstorms, I'm talking 7 feet type snowstorms, to the tragic and almost fatal situation with one of our players, Damar Hamlin. There was no script, no playbook that I could refer to. All I could lean on was the, the influence that I had gotten from not only my family, but my time here at William and Mary. I'll close with a few last thoughts. As many of you are, my life gets generally pretty busy, at times in particular the 6 months of a football season. But I still try and balance being a good dad, a good husband, a good son, and a good brother. But Sunday afternoons, my life gets very still. It's usually right before kickoff. We've come in from pregame warm-up. I'm sitting in my locker, and I can hear the people above me. We've got an old stadium. We're getting a new one. But I can hear the people above me as they filter into the stadium, the crowd. And like any performer's mind, my mind starts to go. Just like the minutes before games here, your mind starts to go. A lot of positive thoughts and a few negative ones, a few doubts that start to creep into any performer's mind. But ultimately, my thoughts settle back on that young kid from Lansdale, Pennsylvania, who dreamed of being in the NFL. And that same kid who was told by so many that he wasn't good enough. But now here he is, so blessed, so grateful, and ready for another challenge. President Abraham Lincoln. I think we've had a couple presidents come from this school, another recruiting pitch to my kids. President Abraham Lincoln once said, "If there's anything that a person can do well, I say let them do it. Give them a chance." Well, years ago, William and Mary, and more recently the Bills, gave me a chance. And I'm here to tell you, you can accomplish anything anything you set your mind to. And that's a message for everyone here tonight, but in particular, Gavin, Maddie, and Kelly. I believe in you, and always will. Thanks so much for having me and my family back on campus. Go Tribe and go Bills.